DNA confirmed that I, 39M, have a daughter, 18F. What now? And yeah, I feel just as you would imagine, but it gets worse. She lives in the US, I'm in Europe. I don't know how to do this and really need advice. So what happened is that months ago I got a call from a US number. Didn't answer since I don't know anyone there. Then again the same day, so I answered ready to yell at some scammer. A girl on the other side introduces herself and just say that she thinks I might be her father. That was the first thing she said. Hi, my name is Jane and I think you might my father. Fake name. Obviously I told her I don't have any children and that she has the wrong number. But then she drops a name I haven't heard in, you guessed it, 18 years. Back around that time I was in the US for a year on a job exchange with our sister company. Met a woman there and we hooked up over maybe a few months. I remember buying condoms after meeting her, but I can't remember if we used them every time. Anyway, I gave her my non-US number but never heard from her again. The girl on the phone asks me if my name is OP, and I freak and almost hang up on her. She tells me more about her mother and I just sit there like an idiot. She'd found my name and number in her mother's diary, and now as she turned 18 she wanted to contact me. She lives with her relatives now since her mother is unable to take care of herself for some reason. I still don't know the details there. She asks me if I'd be willing to do an ancestry DNA test and even offered to pay for it. She ends by saying I should think about it and ask if she can call me again. I just say sure and we hang up. I swear I was about to faint right there and then. The whole conversation lasted only like 5 minutes. I end up taking the test and we talk a few more times. The test took forever, but yesterday she sent me a screenshot of her profile matching 50% to mine. I mean, that's just it, right? We haven't spoken since, just messaged some. I lied and told her I've been busy and we'll talk later, which now makes me feel like an ass. Up until this point, I've kept it together, holding on to the thought that I'm probably not the dad, but now I can't deny it. It's probably been half my life since I last cried. I haven't told anyone this. I was kinda hoping the DNA test would come back negative and then I wouldn't have to. How to even break this to my family? I just know they'll all want her number so they can call her, and then they would start flying over to see her or bringing her here. They're really pushy like that. My mom is going to freak out. I don't see my family more than a few times a year, but we'll all get together during Easter. Should I do it then with all of them at once or one at a time? I have a picture of Jane, but not much more info than what I've written here. I'm the youngest sibling, and now I suddenly have the oldest of the cousins in the next generation, and I never wanted kids at all. I just don't like them and hate being tied up. Even had a vasectomy since then, and that's the easy part. The real problem is what to say to Jane. Can some sane person give an example of what to say? I've promised to call her tomorrow. Has anyone discovered they have an unknown child? If so, what did you do? How did it go? How did you connect? What happened when you met for the first time? What did your family say? I'm a bit embarrassed by this, but is there any risk of me having to pay child support retroactively? I can probably afford it, but I don't really want to. TLDR. Got contacted by a young girl claiming to be my daughter. DNA later confirmed. Need help on how to proceed and what to say to her and my family. Edit. I apologize for the abomination of a text above. I blame the alcohol. Some seems to have the impression that I and or my family are wealthy. This is not so. I wrote in a comment that knowing my family, they would probably rent a private jet and fly her here. That was a joke commenting on what they would want to do, not what they would do. No, I'm not wealthy either. In the post I wrote, I can probably afford it, but I don't really want to. And I meant that I'd hate to suddenly have something like 10% of my savings left overnight. Just guessing here. No idea what the actual sum would have been. I'm sure anyone here would consider that factor. Anyway, someone said the limit is 3 years back. I didn't know that. I can be an asshole sometimes, but I'm not some monster. The money question was a question, not the question. Yes, I have had my number for a long time. Never had a reason to change it. We had our first video call today, and it was a long conversation. I had a list of things to bring up, mostly from suggestions here, so ever thankful for that. Most of it was quite personal for both of us, so I won't write it here. But it boils down to that we both want to continue to stay in touch and get to know each other. We also want to meet at some point, even if we don't know when yet. Her family knows of me, and they will join a call in the future so I can speak to them as well. I will hold off on telling my family for a while, but I will probably tell them one at a time. Update, August 1st. 2024. Hello all. A while back I made a post asking for advice. Back then, I had just had it confirmed by DNA that I had a daughter I never knew about. I called her Jane in the other post, so I will here too. Jane is the result of me hooking up with a woman while I was in the US working. It was really interesting to read about others' experiences in the comments and DMs. It's crazy what DNA tests have done in recent times. Some wrote that Jane is probably just a kid looking for her roots, and you were absolutely right. I've been getting a steady stream of DMs since my last post. Most have been nice, just asking for an update. Then there were the absolute nutcases who can't read and told me to drown myself. Hi to you too. Jane and I continued to talk after my last post, mostly about her life, her mother, the family trees, etc. I never thought I would connect with her like I did. She's a very intelligent and mature young woman. My family knows now, and it went better than expected. Mom and sister still went a bit apeshit, but Dad knocked them out with a large club he always carries with him. To the nutcases, no, that last bit didn't actually happen. Funny thing, my brother-in-law actually distracted Mom by reminding her that she has made sweaters for all the other grandkids, but now she's way behind on one. All of them understandably wanted to call her, but my daughter, yes, it's pretty cool to be able to say that, and I had already planned to have that call the following day, and it went really well. We made introductions, explained everything that had happened, and that we planned for me to meet her by myself before anything. And guess what? We did meet. I flew over for a 10-day stay since I'm on leave and she's working during the summer. That way we could hang out in the evenings and weekend, and I could go full tourist during the day. It was surreal from the start. I landed at the very same airport I left from almost 2 decades ago, and she was there to meet me together with her aunt. I can't describe with words what it was like to hug her for the first time. I'd seen her many times in video calls, but she was just so beautiful in real life, I started crying. I met so many people in the first couple of days, I can't remember the names of half of them. I gave her the sweater from my mother, a hand-drawn family tree from my niece, and a gift I made myself, but I won't tell what that one was. While I still don't agree with the Georgia weather, I had a blast during the days just walking around town. I went to Jane's workplace almost every day and pretended to be a regular customer. We had lunch and dinners either alone or with the rest of her mother's side of the family. All of them were so nice and welcoming to me. I visited their house every day, but chose to stay at a hotel since I didn't want to be a bother or impose myself too hard on Jane's life. Obviously, Jane and I talked a lot about anything and everything, but mostly about her upbringing and her mother. I mentioned in the previous post that her mother wasn't able to care for Jane. I didn't press that subject much at first, but it was unavoidable after a while. I won't get into all the details, but her mother is sick and has lost some cognitive functions. She recognizes Jane and some family members well enough, others not so much. We went to visit the facility where she lives, and Jane introduced me by name and not as her father. She sadly didn't recognize me, so I stayed in the background for the remainder of our stay. Seeing a woman not much older than myself in such a state was a somber experience. So yeah, that was me rambling a bit about what happened after my last post. There was obviously a lot more, but most of it is deeply personal and emotional, and I won't go through it here. I'm back home and we are keeping communications open. I'm definitely gonna fly Jane over here at some point when life allows it. But other than that, we have no specific plans for the future. Hope you all have a nice day. X reaching out after 10 years. I'm at a loss for what to answer with. June 19th, 2019. Throwaway account because this needs to stay secret for now. I, call me Anthony, 32 years old, have been with my current GF, call her Michelle, 33 years old, for 4 years. No plans of marriage, and one time she cheated on me. Drunk, mistake, blah blah blah, whatever, I forgave her. We are pretty much best friends that do everything together and live together. Other than the one instance of cheating, we have had no major issues and live a pretty good life. She does not want marriage or kids. I do though. It's a hard no for her. Recently my ex, call her Nicole, 32 years old, contacted me over a promise we made back when we broke up. When and if we were both not married by 32, we would find a way to be together. Some backstory on her and I, childhood friends. Started dating in middle school, dated through high school. She was accepted to her dream college, and so was I, on opposite ends of the country. Virginia Tech for her and Stanford for me. We did long-term for 2 years, until deciding to let each other live their life and be more connected to maybe someone closer if it was going to happen. This was a mutual decision, and we broke up contact at that point so that we could move on. Her parents still talk to me on occasion, live 4 hours away, same with sister. 20 minutes away, and her grandparents, 2 hours away, but never about her per my request. So flash forward, I have been getting calls from a weird number once every month since September, and just didn't answer because I don't answer numbers I don't know. Figure if important, they would leave a message. Ex's sister comes by and says, "Hey, this is from Nicole. She said you can read it and respond if you want, and if not, then she will understand soon enough." For the life of me, I had forgotten our weird promise, but the letter goes as this. "Hey, Anthony, I know neither of us have been in contact in the last 10 years, but I'm asking if you still remember the promise we made. I have no right to ask of it, and if you have moved on, then it's okay, as I want you to be happy. First and foremost, I want you to know this isn't a desperation attempt because I am lonely. My sister was quite keen on giving that as the probable reason as to why I've been feeling this way and why I am bringing up that old promise. This is more along the lines of I just can't imagine my life with anyone else. I, yes, have been on many dates and had one relationship that lasted over a year, but there was always this lack feeling in me that, well, in all, honestly, they weren't you. You're the guy I knew instantly when we're young that I would want to be with forever. The guy who made me smile, that I could wake up next to, and was genuinely happy knowing that we were together. In my mind, you, Anthony, have been my only want and desire. That day, we decided to try and move on because of the distance. I won't lie, it took me about a year to realize how stupid that was. It was mutual, but my feelings are that I pushed you towards it. I honestly feel like the first suggestion of giving time to each other to finish school and not have to try and coordinate our lives was the stupidest mistake I could ever have done. Anthony, you are my soulmate, my love, my life, and that is why what comes next, I say with all fear aside. I am ready to leave everything and find a new job, to move back to Candyland and be with you. I'm fully prepared to do this if you even think there can be a chance of us again. I love you, and nobody else will ever take the place you have in my heart. I talked to my parents and friends. They are in full support of this. Also, thank you so much for being there for my parents when they needed help moving and working on Dad's bike and truck. I had no idea until a few days ago. I will be fully committed to being yours. I want to be part of your life and want you to be in mine forever. Growing old, seeing the world change the lives we live together as one, and most importantly, I just want us to be happy. I've wasted enough time holding back what I have wanted to say for the last few years. Anthony, I love you so much. I want to live my life with you. I'm prepared to leave it all for you. And lastly, my love, my childhood friend, my soulmate, and more than prepared to be your wife and be the mother to our children. If I don't hear back by the end of the month, I will assume you have moved on for the better and will do my best not to reach out again. If you decide otherwise, I have left my number and email. Love, insert nickname from childhood, Nicole. To be honest, I don't know if I should respond or what I should do. She left her number, one that has been calling me, and her email. I'm conflicted a lot, really. I literally cried when I read the letter, and it brought back a lot of emotions that I didn't think were still there. Since Michelle, Nicole, and I all went to the same high school, they both know each other, and I'm honestly afraid Michelle will tell me to go be with her without a second thought if I told her about Nicole reaching out only just knowing how she is as a person. I've been debating it since getting the letter yesterday, and since I always see good advice here, I thought to ask the Reddit family. If this isn't the right subreddit, I can repost somewhere else and apologize if so. Edit. 9:58 p.m. PST 6/18. Lots of great advice. Tomorrow, Michelle and I are going on a hike, so I'm going to bring up what I want and need out of a relationship to be happy. We'll update tomorrow all. Edit 2. 1:15 p.m. 6/19. I talked to my current GF first. We had a big talk that was the last 6 hours we were hiking about what we are both wanting in the future. She made it clear that kids and adoption are out of her plan and suggested that we should just be friends if that's what I truly want in the future. I told her that I would still be friends with her no matter what, since all the things we do together, and she laughed and said, "No kids, and I keep my best friend who loves to do the same things I do. Cha-ching, it's all good. Rather we both be happy in the long run, don't feel too bad, or think this is a mistake." We then talked about the letter from my ex, and she pretty much said Nicole sounds crazy, but if it's something I want to pursue because of the history we had, then she has no ill feelings of me going that route. Also said if it doesn't work out, then I can always go back to plan, no kids and freedom. Thanked me for bringing it up then in her typical fashion. Joked about me going to be blue-balled for a while. Rest of the hike was pretty much us talking like we normally do, then debating lunch. When we got to the trailhead, I asked if she wanted any alone time or not. She said no, and that she eventually thought this would happen as we got older. Asked me if we can still do the friend stuff until something else happens in our lives, and I told her yes, of course. She said no harm in that then, and that was that. We're at the mall for her girls' lunch, and I'm sitting at the table like a weirdo, yeah, until I call up the ex and see what she is like. That is it for now. Update. 2 years later, April 14th, 2021. Good evening, Redditors. A while back, 2019, I posted here in relationship advice about an ex that reached out after a decade. Recently, I was messaged by a few different people asking for an update. Whether you three had been refreshing the page since then, or it just randomly showed up in your searches, I wanted to post up the conclusion of what happened, what is still happening, and the journey since the post was made. After Michelle and I ended our relationship, nothing changed aside from living together and sex. Nicole and I started to make plans for when she came out here for her grandma's birthday. Talking on the phone a lot, emails back and forth. We decided on waiting to video chat or send pics to another since it wasn't too far off when she would be visiting, and we thought it would be a good surprise. The initial hello was awkward as hell. When she got out of the terminal, I recognized her right off the bat and was amazed that she pretty much looked exactly the same as when I last remembered. I had seen pictures at her sister's and parents', but I was floored on how much she hadn't changed in the last 10 years. Getting into the car, we kinda just stared at one another for a minute, and she started off with, "Well, if you don't drive anywhere, people are going to start honking smart guy." That started our week-long catching-up journey. We first went to go get some food and decided on pizza, oh yeah, and it was pretty easy going from that moment on. We shared stories of what life has been like, showed off scars, looked at each other's trips and vacations, shared each other's hobbies. She asked about our old group of friends and who's still around, etc. That small first meeting changed everything in life for us both. I won't go into specifics specifics or minor details on the following dates and days, but to say that week went by in a heartbeat is an understatement. When it was time for Grandma's birthday, it was like old times again. The family was easy to be around. We all joked and laughed and didn't have much of any problems throughout the week. Our music taste was the only problem. Lots of fighting over that radio dial, ha ha ha. The goodbye felt painful. Our week of vacation was over, and it was time to get back to our lives half a country apart. Flash forward a few weeks, and we decided that I go visit her this time around. Phone conversations were going great, and airfare was cheap enough. Texted before I got on the plane and told her my arrival time. Landed and felt like I was ghosted. Not there to pick me up, wasn't answering the phone, didn't respond to any texts. Facebook said last online 4 hours ago. I started to feel like maybe this was some joke on my behalf and was worried. About 45 minutes go by, and I'm walking towards a hotel when the phone rings, and I find out she was so fancy about me coming that she spent the night awake, and upon hearing I was on the way, promptly passed out hard. By the time she got to me, I was a sweaty mess, but was apologetic all the way to her place, and the following 2 days. We hung out the entire time, pretty much doing what we couldn't do where I live. Days at the beach, swimming, me getting in a small amount of rock hounding while she looked for critters, and eating all the Cajun food I could ever hope. In a nutshell, it went great, and other than the constant bald jokes, I had shaved my head, it was all fun. Meeting her friends, her dog, hanging out and doing things we each love was just tranquil in every way possible. When it came time to say goodbye, she asked if I had any vacation time left, and if I did, if she could come back up for longer, and I of course said yes. 4 months go by of back and forth traveling on weekends, always on the phone, and by that point I feel like it's time. I ask her if she wants to move in with me. Immediately said yes, and we made our last vacation week into a road trip to bring her up to where I live. Our dogs got along, and she was able to transfer to a new department based pretty close to where we lived. It was a dream coming true, and it too went by so fast that honestly it feels like it was yesterday. She actually asked me to marry her a few months later, and I of course said yes. She had glow in the dark rock setup to ask me in our yard when we went up to the deck to watch the stars. I feel like I'm going on a rant here. So much for not every detail, right? Ha 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 ha. Well, it's been close to a couple years now since everything started. We have a beautiful daughter together, Ariana, adopted. We had issues. She wouldn't be able to give birth. Our dogs are jerks and doofuses. Michelle and Nicole have met, and we are all friends again. They actually hang out a lot together. She has moved on, and we still do a lot of our favorite hobbies together as a group or separately. With COVID and us being at home non-stop together, it's been just fine. Were things perfect? No, but nothing ever is. We had our issues in the beginning and still squabble over stupid things at times. To everyone that was part of the initial journey, I hope you've enjoyed this follow-up. This was the best decision, and my only regret is that we didn't reconcile our relationship earlier. This has gone by in a flash, and honestly, I can't wait to see what the future holds for us. Each day is refreshing, and a smile rarely leaves my face. I get to spend my life with not only my first love and childhood friend, but also with great friends and family that are always there for us both. TLDR, X reached out after 10 years, broke it off with my current who was fine with it more than I was. X and I got back together. Dream of having a child came true. Didn't lose anyone in my life and honestly couldn't be happier. Go for what you believe and take chances. Never know what might happen.